think audiences know that. They know they're going to get something that feels kind of raw and real.
Do you remember the first scary movie you ever watched in your life?
Probably the James Whale Frankenstein, and I was like very little, and I remember, you know, when you hear his footsteps and then he appears, being genuinely scared, even though it's hard to imagine being scared of that now.
Bambi.
Yeah.
That was a really good
I mean,
answer.
yeah, Dumbo was definitely great.
Yeah, that was
Oh no,
terrifying.
Pinocchio.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
The child catcher.
That
That's
was
some freaky
terrifying.
stuff.
Yeah.
Pinocchio has a creepy moment, man, when the donkey goes and turns into a freaking donkey and they all
Yeah.
smoke cigars at this fairground bit.
Alice in Wonderland, scary.
So basically just Disney animation.
All Disney movies are scary.
Yeah, those amazing horror movies of
That's not your first experience with a vampire movie, and before you have played a ghost, a goblin, so what other mythical creatures do you think would be fun to play?
You know, I can never set myself up. You know, when something's in front of me, I know what to do. That's probably why I'm not a director. I react to things and then I work from there.
I mean, he is, you know, halfway a satyr anyway, so.
Thank you.
I could see you as a werewolf. Don't know
Yeah.
what I'd be. Like an elf. A Christmas elf.
A fairy, maybe a fairy.
Fairy.
Peter Pan. I want to pick Peter Pan.
Yeah,
That'd
you
be
could
sick.
totally Peter it.
Robert Eggers' Peter Pan.
Oh
Can
my
you
god,
imagine?
dark.
Dark.
Oh man, that's like
Chilling.
Hook was sick.
Yeah, Hook was amazing.
Since we're talking about a story with such a huge legacy, what were your main contributions or new elements you felt you had to tell the story yourself?
One of the things that's really cool about the More Now film is that it becomes Ellen's story somewhere midway through Act 2. Ellen becomes the protagonist, and so I wanted Ellen to be the protagonist from the very beginning. I think that's the most central difference. And then also that Orlok is this like folk vampire. He is an ambulating corpse and nothing more.
As I was watching the 1922 Nosferatu, I wonder if there's something about the way of acting in silent films that is still present in cinema today, you know, or that may have inspired you in your work.
There's always that expression that if you turn the sound off on a film, can you still see what's going on? So there's something about the gesture, there's something about actions that really drive everything, that root everything. It's not so much about dialogue or psychology, it's about movement, it's about the presence of the actor, at least from my point of view as an actor. You don't imitate that because it's all kind of extreme, but it is about the gesture, it's about doing things.
As you did a lot of research to bring this word to the screen, was there something new about this mythology to you, or you know, something you had a new perspective about?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was really super fun was to like dig into things that I had known about and kind of relearn them. The history of vampire cinema is so ingrained in people's knowledge about what vampires are. And I've read Dracula like 5 times or something as a kid and a young adult. And to realize there are things from vampire movies that I had put in the novel that aren't there. And when you go back and you look at stories about folk vampires from the 18th and 19th century, you know, like some of them don't drink blood. Some of them don't drink blood from the neck, but from the breast, which we put in the movie. Some of them just, you know, came back to sleep with their widows until she died from too much intercourse.
From Nosferatu to What We Do in the Shadows to Twilight, vampire seems to work in all kinds of movies. What do you think that made this creature so appealing on screen?
I think there's obviously a fantasy and a sense of like intrigue into the world of darkness and mythology and vampires and things like that. And I think it's exciting, especially when Robert Eggers is telling the story. You know, he's pulling out parts of details and like folklore history and pulling out real authentic things of that era and time. And I think audiences know that. They know they're going to get something that feels kind of raw and real.
And in this adaptation, I feel that your characters especially gain a lot of new background. How did you and Robert work together, you know, to build almost from scratch a story for this couple.
I mean, that was very much Rob, I think, in the writing of the story. This film, as well as being terrifying and beautiful and like a visual feast, it's also very much like it focuses on love and different types of love and marriage and family. Those things coming up against darkness and how each of those things deals with it. I think our characters are very much there to be this pillar of like a nuclear family and to watch that fall, essentially, or crack, or how these people deal with it. He typed me out a sort of character backstory, which I found really, really useful. But then we sort of rehearsed it and talked about it like you would a play almost, didn't we?